Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about the massive news surrounding the reported destruction of Russia's Crimea corridor in a major attack. This development has sent shockwaves across the world, and the impact is far bigger than just a single strike. It touches military strategy, political messaging, and the future shape of the conflict. So let's break this down in a clear, simple, and direct way. The Crimea corridor has always been one of Russia's most strategically important supply routes. It connects mainland Russia with Crimea and allows Moscow to move troops, equipment, fuel, ammunition, and everything else needed to maintain control over the region. When something this important is hit, it becomes more than a headline. It becomes a symbol of vulnerability and a turning point. Reports say that Ukraine carried out a large-scale operation designed to cripple the crucial connection that Russia uses to feed its forces in Crimea. The attack wasn't just about damaging a structure. It was about cutting off Russia's ability to operate smoothly. It was about creating delays, confusion, and pressure. And it was about showing that no area is fully protected. The strike appears to have focused on the heart of the corridor, targeting the infrastructure that keeps supplies flowing. Disrupting this weakens Russia's logistics. Armies don't run on slogans or pride. They run on fuel, ammunition, spare parts, and constant resupply. When that supply line is threatened, the military machine begins to slow down. This attack also sends a strong psychological message. Crimea has been treated by Russia as a core achievement, a place that symbolized dominance, confidence, and control. Damaging a key connection to Crimea challenges that image. It shows that Ukraine can still strike deep and disrupt what Russia considers untouchable. That message matters in warfare, where morale and perception are weapons too. For Ukraine, this kind of strike takes planning, intelligence, and timing. Operations like this aren't quick decisions. They're months in the making. They rely on understanding where the weak spots are, how to hit them, and how to cause the most disruption with the least risk. The fact that such an operation was even possible shows how much Ukraine has expanded its capabilities over the course of the war. The immediate impact is clear. Russia has to reroute supplies. That means longer travel times, fewer supplies arriving on schedule, and more pressure on alternative routes. Any army facing delays starts to feel strain on the front lines. Commanders lose flexibility. Units wait longer for what they need. Repair crews must work faster. All of this adds up. Another issue is cost. Rebuilding major infrastructure during wartime is not simple or cheap. Russia has repaired and reinforced damaged structures before, but each time it becomes more expensive and more difficult. And with each attack, the question becomes, how secure is this route really, beyond the military effects? This attack influences the wider narrative. Ukraine has consistently tried to show that it is capable of taking the initiative, not just defending, but hitting strategic targets. Not sitting back, but challenging the areas Russia relies on the most. This helps Ukraine inspire confidence from its allies and supporters. On the Russian side, this becomes a political challenge. Moscow has tried to present the situation in Crimea as stable and fully under control. But attacks like this crack that image. They create doubt among civilians in Crimea, among soldiers stationed there, and even among Russian audiences who are told the situation is secure. For people living in Crimea, attacks on supply lines have real effects. Fuel shortages, food delays, rising prices, transport problems, and uncertainty become part of daily life. When key infrastructure becomes unreliable, everyday life becomes more stressful, And when that continues for a long time, support for the occupying government can weaken. This attack also fits into a larger pattern. Over recent months, Ukraine has increased operations aimed at Russian logistics. Strikes on depots, rail lines, ports, radar systems, and bridges all work together to tighten the pressure. No single attack changes the war, but many attacks combined can make a big difference over time. What makes this particular strike so significant is the location. Crimea isn't just another region. It's a symbolic and strategic centerpiece of the conflict. Any attack there instantly becomes global news, and any damage there reverberates through the entire Russian military structure. Now let's consider what might happen next. Russia will almost certainly try to repair whatever was damaged. They will send engineers, equipment, materials, and military protection. But repairs take time. Time is exactly what Ukraine gains whenever Russia is forced to shift resources. If Russia cannot fully restore the corridor quickly, then they will need to compensate by using alternative routes. These might include land routes through occupied territories or maritime routes across the Black Sea. But all of these alternatives have limitations. Land routes are vulnerable to artillery and drones. Sea routes are slow and require naval protection, and all of them cost more. Ukraine may try to strike again, especially if the initial attack revealed structural weaknesses or patterns in Russian movements. Repeated strikes can make a route unreliable permanently. An unreliable route becomes a strategic liability. If Ukraine can maintain sustained pressure on Crimea's supply connections, Russia's ability to maintain its military presence on the peninsula could weaken over time. That doesn't mean Crimea would fall quickly, but it would mean the cost of holding it rises dramatically. The political consequences could also expand. Russia has invested significant national pride in its control of Crimea. Every attack that damages that control becomes a political headache. Leaders must explain, reassure, and try to maintain confidence. And the more these attacks occur, the more difficult that becomes. For Ukraine, this operation strengthens its image as a country capable of striking deep, planning effectively, and challenging Russia's dominance. It helps Ukraine argue for continued support from partners by showing results. It boosts morale among Ukrainians who want to see evidence that their efforts are making an impact. From a global perspective, this attack highlights how vulnerable major infrastructure can be during modern warfare. Bridges, railways, pipelines, power lines, and transport corridors become high-value targets. They're harder to defend than military bases, and damaging them affects not just soldiers, but entire regions. As for the long-term outlook, the destruction or disruption of the Crimea corridor could mark a major phase shift. If Russia struggles to supply Crimea efficiently, then its presence there becomes more expensive and more unstable. That could reshape the entire map of the conflict, but it all depends on how much damage was done and how effectively Russia responds. If the damage is severe and long-lasting, the effects will spread through every level of Russia's military operations. If it can be repaired quickly, then the impact may be more symbolic. Either way, the symbolism alone is powerful. This incident also raises the question of escalation. Whenever a major strategic target is hit, both sides must decide how to respond. Russia may increase strikes on Ukrainian infrastructure. Ukraine may continue targeting Russian logistics. The cycle could intensify. The outcomes depend on leadership decisions, military capabilities, and international reactions. One thing that is certain is that the war has entered a stage where logistics, infrastructure, and long distance strikes matter just as much as front-line battles. Armies win not only by capturing ground, but by controlling the flow of supplies, the efficiency of movement, and the stability of critical routes. In the coming days and weeks, more information will emerge about the exact scale of the damage. Satellite images, military reports, and expert analysis will paint a clearer picture. But the immediate reaction already tells us how significant this event was. People around the world are watching closely because this attack could influence the next major moves in the war. It could change strategies, shift priorities, and force new decisions on both sides. It could even affect diplomatic conversations and future negotiations. As this story continues to unfold, the key takeaway is that major infrastructure strikes have long, lasting consequences. They reshape battlefields without a single soldier crossing the line. They weaken opponents by targeting the things they rely on every day. They show that modern warfare is about more than missiles and troops. It's about disrupting the systems that keep everything running. This attack on the Crimea corridor is a clear example of that, and its effects will likely continue to ripple outward for a long time. Thanks for watching and following along with this deep breakdown. If you have thoughts about this attack, its importance, or what it means for the future of the conflict, feel free to share your ideas in the comments. If you enjoy these in-depth explanations, remember to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more updates.